Good day, everyone. I am Roland Jane Tanya together with my partner Danny Maturan, and we will be reporting the brain-based learning. First, we will define what is brain-based learning. According to Oskaniel 2020, brain-based learning is essentially lesson plan and teaching methods that reflects the findings of how the brain learn best. As defined by Cognition Today, brain-based learning is a paradigm of learning which addresses students' learning and learning outcomes from the point of view of the human brain. This strategy is used to design lessons and school programs that promote speedy and efficient learning. How is the brain-based learning implemented? According to Edmonton Blog et al. 2021, there are 5 easy steps in implementing brain-based learning in the classroom. First is set a positive tone from the beginning. Number 2, establish turn and talk time. Number 3, incorporate visual elements. Number 4, break learning into chunks. Number 5, get moving. First, let's discuss the first easy steps on implementing the brain-based learning, which is set a positive tone from the beginning. By creating a positive classroom environment where students feel supported and encouraged, you'll open up the doors for your students to learn the best. Welcoming your students in class can increase students' engagement, and many educators have found that setting positive tone at the start of the discussion with the greetings create a sense of community. Number 2, establish turn and talk time. When students talk about concepts they learned, they're more likely to retain the information. Implementing turn and talk time in your lessons can help students process what they have just read, discuss ideas before sharing with the class, and classify problems that may have while completing homework. These strategies can be implemented in a warm-up activity, during class discussion, or a closing activity. By letting your students discuss their ideas, you're giving them a chance to describe what they've learned in their own words and helping them to explain their thoughts to their classmates. Number 3, incorporate visual elements. Many people are visual learners who absorb and recall information best by seeing. By using visual elements to the lesson, it can call the students' attention and hold the interest of the learners during lectures and discussions. Number 4, break learning into chunks. Chunking or breaking down difficult or large pieces of text into smaller pieces has been proven to help students to identify key words and phrases, paraphrases, and understand the text in their own words. By breaking down a large piece of text into more manageable pieces, students are able to better understand and comprehend the material. Number 5, get moving. Brain breaks are a great way to get your students up and moving, and they have been brain activity. Brain breaks are easy to implement in any classroom settings and require almost no setup. How can a brain-based learning be used in the classroom? Brain-based learning is considered a comprehensive approach to instruction. Brain-based education offers a biological-driven classroom structure that corresponds to the function of the human brain at different developmental levels. The practices engage the entire body to enhance the learning process. The following are some of the tips used by the teachers to promote this learning strategy. Teachers must make use of the classroom space to arouse all senses. Number 2, brain-based learning helps students to relax in order to improve alertness. Number 3, stimulate social skills to improve experience. Number 4, make study challenging. Number 5, teachers need to introduce art and music into lessons. Number 6, set up learning folder for each child. Advantages and disadvantages. Danielle Willingham, a professor of cognitive psychology focusing on consciousness and learning, provides some of the advantages and disadvantages of brain-based learning strategy. Advantages. Number 1, engages whole body and mind of child. Number 2, uses demonstration and assessment to analyze progress. Number 3, promotes creativity of students and teachers. Number 4, uses new teaching styles. Number 5, incorporates cooperative learning. Number 6, incorporates problem-based learning. Number 7, incorporates practical stimulations. Number 6, fascination with brain-based learning to increase attention towards brain function in relation to education. And here are the disadvantages. Number 1, lack of support from experts. Number 2, lack of scientific data. Number 3, separate students into specific learning. Left brain, right brain. Number 3, high cost. Number 4, new to the field. Number 5, vogue.
As the world faces the global health crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic causes intrinsic changes in the education system, from face-to-face classroom interaction to distance learning as the new normal setup. The sudden adjustments have created numerous challenges in distance learning that result in different learning experiences for every learner. The following are the implementation tips proposed by Robert Manzano for the virtual and blended learning modality in this new normal. Tip number 1. Communicating course/assignments rules and procedures. Clarifying your expectation is key to a smooth running classroom, whether it's traditional or virtual. If your students don't know what the rules are, they probably won't follow them. Students who visit a physical classroom are placed in a roll-normal system. However, for remote learners, class participation and academic goals are now placed in the home where they can easily become overwhelmed by family difficulties. Make an art project out of classroom and virtual collaboration policies that students may post near their work area as a fun exercise to help them understand and cherish virtual classroom guidelines at home. Tip number 2. Providing students with all materials needed to complete an assignment. Defining clear classroom and assignment expectations and procedures is only half the battle in ensuring that the students have the tools they need to be successful in the classroom. It is just as important to provide your students with the actual materials they need to accomplish the goals set. The purpose of virtual model is to an online place where educators may store, share content, and students can access those materials from anywhere. If you're willing to manage a class website, Weebly for Education is a good alternative for website instruction because it's quick and there are plenty of free easy-to-use layouts. Google Classroom is a fantastic option because it provides fast access to papers, but Google Classroom does not include a built-in curriculum. Tip number 3, clearly presenting the goal objective for each assignment. Although there is always room for creativity and experimentation in education, a lesson should never be delivered with an overall "let's see where this goes" approach. Every instructional day, each task should have a clear goal associated with it. The clarity of these goals is the key to this tip. The academic standard is frequently listed throughout the curriculum, although not necessarily in a style that is understandable to students. As a result, adapting learner-centric language within learning management systems or LMS on the teacher homepage or the passively asynchronous and asynchronous instructional exchanges is a good method for teachers to enhance that connection. In this atmosphere, oversharing is not an option. Learners need consistency to feel safe. A real-time digital meeting or discussion on the LMS can be used to have a discourse with students on how they comprehend the objective. Tip number 4. Offering encouragement and positive feedback to students. Positive reinforcement is key to instilling a sense of confidence, self-worth, and motivation in children. But for some students, those kinds of interactions are hard to come by in their lives outside of school. This fact makes it that much more critical that the classroom should always be safe and encouraging environment. Without any encouraging words, learners are likely to shut down from the entire educational experience. In online learning environments, emojis tend to replace stickers and badges often replace bulletin boards. Many interfaces with LMS, online meeting spaces, and digital curriculum include ways to communicate positive feedbacks. Some programs give blue ribbons, trophies, likes, or coins, and many systems automate positive responses as students successfully complete tasks. Then teachers have more time to look at individual students and their assignments in order to analyze mastery of standards and provide positive feedback to incremental progress. Tip number 5. Allowing students to keep track of their learning progress. Ownership of learning is key to student achievement. Students need to feel invested in their progress in order to thrive academically. They should be able to see the scoreboard so that they can be proud when they're keeping up or when it's time to kick into gear to avoid falling behind. Students and their families rely on timely and accessible communication when they are away from the actual school building. Grades are good, and course pacing is beneficial, but progress tracking in the long-term development of learners is what students and families find most useful. Long-term development in virtual environment is aided by skills-based prescriptions that cater to learner readiness and social-emotional pathways that aid in personal development management. Learners may have a sense of alienation from their teacher and peers, which can stymie their progress. Tip number 6. Accessibility to students via electronic communication as well as face-to-face. Teacher and students can collaborate in many ways to advance their common goals. Often, the collaboration task doesn't end with the last bell of the school day. In today's connected world, the key is to find a balance between being easily accessible to your students without sacrificing your own productivity and free time. Because you don't see your students every day in a virtual classroom, it's critical to engage them in conversation, threaded discussions boards, breakout rooms during video conferencing classes, and interactive bulletin boards allow students and professors to be equally active participants. Tip number 7. Monitoring student work. Without an accurate view of students' progress, effective classroom decision-making is challenging. Are your learners ready to move on to the next unit? Who is in need of remediation? Who should benefit from the enrichment activities? Assessments, both formative and summative, are one of good way of monitoring your students' development. Tip number 8. Knowing every student by name and being able to recognize them outside of the online environment. Learning your students' names might seem like common sense, but you won't believe how many teachers are unable to call students by name a month, 2 months, or even several months after the first day of school. There are various reasons for this, but the bottom line is that your ability to connect with students whose names you don't know is severely inhibited. Tip number 9. Allowing students to progress through the assignment at their own pace. We all know that what it feels like to fall behind in a task or project. We also know what it's like to excel at something over our peers. In both cases, the feeling can be awkward and distracting. Now think about how students who are just starting to find themselves and their talents feels in one of those situations. Allowing students to progress through the curriculum at their own pace helps them to get to know their own strengths and weaknesses, which builds their sense of confidence. Tip number 10. Providing help to understand and practice new knowledge. To help students acquire and master their new knowledge is why teachers teach. It is perhaps the most fundamental part of the job. That being said, it might also be the most complicated. Who do you help? When do you help them? How even veteran teachers struggle with these questions. Individualized practice and support can be provided as part of your program. With tools, applications, and widgets in your LMS, you may provide scaffolded practice for learners to demonstrate proficiency in their preferred learning modes. It is necessary to keep in mind that having a clear and current path is essential. Ensure that logins, cadence, and routine, the many resources used do not vary. Mechanisms should be effective and consistent across environments. Tip number 11. Allowing students to ask questions during online courses assignments. The process of Socratic questioning is cyclical and naturally occurs at various points of learning. Students are more engaged when they can ask questions throughout learning. Saving questions until the end of class risks running out of time and not serving students well. When holding class in a virtual setting, be sure to make your expectations for asking questions clear using the raise your hand option on the video conferencing platforms and requesting students to quiet the microphones unless they have a question are two strategies that educators have found to be effective. The Q&A option is available on many video conferencing platforms that does not disrupt the class during lecture time. Number 12. Treating all students equally. Every student is entirely unique, with different needs, strengths, ideas, and social-emotional requirements. With students at premise, by focusing on their potential as opposed to considering deficits first, educators can create an empowering environment and change the paradigm of what students need, both individually and collectively. Number 13. Adding extra resources assignments aligned to local objectives. In today's educational landscape, there is no lack of resources available to target standards and skills students need to graduation. It is a must that offerings of supplemental content and resources are in line and directly tied to specific and personalized learning goals.